Inravio.com.
Hello again, everybody. This is Joe Larson, and you're watching the 5051 Racing Show. Welcome to another night at Race Talk. We got some stuff to talk about. In addition to Michigan and with the Cup Series and the Campbell World Truck Series, you had the Xfinity Series at Road America, the NASCAR Wheeling Modified Tour, which was on Long Island at the Riverhead Raceway, and I was able to discuss that and. Actually, because I was able to attend that event, and you know what's funny is that I can no longer be silent on what I witnessed with the NASCAR Wheeling Modified Tour. So we'll talk about that later. I mean, it's not a doom and gloom talk, but I think it's a little constructive criticism that will probably fall on deaf ears. But we're going to talk about it anyway. And also, we'll talk about our presence. When I say our presence, the Inravio crew being at the Himes Museum of Nostalgia for their annual Old Timers event, which coincides with Marty Himes, the curator of the Himes Museum. His birthday, 77 years old, and still going strong. I mean, this guy is up on the roof, like putting roof tiles and stuff. But it was a good time. A lot of the old guys came. We got a chance to talk to some of those guys. We'll have some of that in the future. Probably next week's show, we'll have some of the stuff. And what we'll do is we'll make it a part of the, sorry about that noise, folks. We'll make it part of racing the old days. We had a nice conversation with the former champion and now involved with our team at Riverhead Raceway. We also had the opportunity, Cookie Visconti, I drew a blank on that one, but we had a good time there. We did some interviews, talked to some people, got the word out about what's going on in racing, and we shared some stories. And you know, it's a bunch of us, and it turned out to be some old figure eight guys like myself, Neil Fiola Sr., Eddie Dunlop, whose dad owned a dozen or so cars back in the 70s, a few of us. Bobby Giraputo, the son of one of the first champion in the figure eights, Benny Giraputo. Just looking at the old figure eight pictures and looking how figure eight stock cars have evolved over the years, over the 50 years that they've been competing, over 50 years. And when you look at some of those pictures, you look at these cars and you're like, wow. But it brings, at least it brought me back to a time when I first started figure eight racing as a fan, watching it, and I could share a fun little story. The first time I go to Islip Speedway to see figure eights is probably around 69, maybe 68, and I'm going there, and the announcer says, okay, you'll get the first heat for the figure eight cars, and they're going in an oval, and I'm like, well, why do they do, I call them figure eight cars if they're going in an oval? And the guys I was with, they kind of making fun of me, and every time figure eight cars came out for the next heat, there was 4 heats, 25 cars each, and then is this the figure eights? No, it's later. Is this? No. Then they did the Consi, 2 Consis with they had about 40 cars in each one, and they're taking 2. Oh, this must be the figure. No, it's not. It's the last race. So I don't know what the last race is. Maybe that's the last race. But anyway, the figure eights went racing, and I was hooked from that day forward. I was hooked. So it was good to go through those old pictures. And I'll tell you what, Marty Himes. He put together this museum, and it started with one item back in, I think, in 1975. And every part of his property, every room in his house, including his bathroom, have racing nostalgia in it. There's race cars, there's parts, there's pictures, there's fire suits, coach jackets. I have a couple of little corners in the museum myself that I'm kind of proud of. And Marty and I sat down, we had a little talk off the record, not that it was off the record, but there was no microphone. And we talked about, he's 77 years old. It's it's basically in his house. And as he put it, I don't know what's going to go on with this when I'm gone. Because I hope I live forever. And that's a quote, Mark. I hope I live forever so I can keep this going. I don't know where it's going to go when I'm gone. And one of his attorney friends, our very influential attorney friends, was there, and we talked, and the place needs a building. The place needs a place where it could be put and be part of something, whether it's a county museum or a state museum. And so this stuff could be kept pristine. Some of the older cars that he has, the paint's starting to fade. Al Lamarino, when he was a Paddock Auto about 8 years ago, I know he painted a bunch of cars for an old timers union. He painted Al Janzo's Ace of Spades. He painted the Walt Edsel number 45, just to name a couple. And now they're starting to fade. There's not a garage for them, So, something to think about, to help the guy out. And this is a labor of love for him. He doesn't make any money here. Yeah, he operates off of donations. But to go there and recognize the driver who drove in the 50s or the 60s and the 70s, and to remember them, the looks on their faces, and, hey, you're so-and-so, and their eyes light up. Oh, you remember? And you start talking about, like, one of the drivers, I mentioned his sponsor. I just happened to remember it. And he goes, you remember that? He was all excited. So, if you're ever out and about and you have nothing to do 1 or 2 or 3 days, because that's what it's going to take you, stop by and see Marty, and he'll be more than happy to give you a tour and show you around, and tell him the guys and gals at Inravio sent you, because he'd get a real big kick out of that. It was a great time. It's every year. It's an annual event. It's usually the last Sunday in August, because it's right around his birthday. So happy birthday to Marty Himes and his grandson as well, whose birthday is actually today. Marty's was yesterday. And again, I want to thank Marty and his family for their hospitality and for allowing our crew to come in there and kind of drag some of his guests into one of the trailers and have some interviews. But we'll have some of those in the upcoming weeks. Like I said, we're going to show 1 or 2 every week. So again, happy birthday, Marty. And again, a big thank you, and a big thank you for the crew. It was hot, it was humid, and there was a lot of trips back and forth to the truck for this, that, and the other thing, but we had a good time doing it. And I always have a good time with that as well. So anyway, it's all good. But anyway, here on Long Island, the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour was in town. And one of the things I look at from being involved with the tour since 2002, as a part-time guy, when my duties weren't needed at Riverhead, and I was free on a Sunday or a weekend when Riverhead wasn't racing, which was either in April or October, and I'd go and get involved. And I remember the car counts being so much stronger. Now, at the time, there weren't all these other modified series. They just weren't. It was pretty much the modified tour. You had some outlaw groups that raced at different racetracks. But then those series, the True Value series came in, and they did some stuff now, and eventually became the Valenti Modified Racing Series. And you have the Tri-Track series. So there's a lot of series now. A lot of teams have options. And I remember my first full year. I was the race director for the tour, and I believe it was the 2003 season. And there were 65 cars that signed into the pits at Riverhead for 28 spots. And back then, in the provisionals included a top 10 Riverhead car in the event they didn't get in on time. They don't do that anymore, and it's more like what the top 3 series have. It's the owner's provisional, the driver's provisional, past champion. But anyway, 65 cars, 25 spots, was sending 37 cars home. Tech was going to be so involved, trying to get, especially with the local cars, the Riverhead cars back then, that series director Ed Cox had me do a pre-tech on the Riverhead cars with local drivers back before the race. I'd go to their shops and do the main stuff. No, I wouldn't check their motors or their carburetors, but all the measurement stuff, all the safety stuff and things of that nature, just so we could get through tech to get them out into racing. And we honored the local seals, the fuel cell and the carburetor and the motor until something happened that we stopped doing it. But anyway, it was different. And you look back on that, and there were regular tour drivers, teams, that got bumped by Long Islanders because, hey, that's their home track. Who knows their home track better than a home track driver? So I look at the finish, the top 10 of the NASCAR Wheeling Modified Tour, and I believe 6 guys were local guys in the top 10 with all Long Island front row, even though they are tour regulars now. Timmy Solomino and Sean Solomino, brothers, front row, pole, outside pole. I don't think that's ever happened where the brothers started the front row. I don't think, looking back, and I'm trying to find out and talk to people, I don't think when the Fullers raced, Jeff and Rick Fuller, I don't think they started in the front row together, or the Bouchards, Kenny and Ron. I don't think they did either, because the biggest thing is having 2 brothers that make the show together. And I don't remember too many 2-brother teams in the tour, at least not while I followed it anyway. And I'm sure somebody will probably go look it up and check into that. But that was impressive. That was impressive, and seeing that. And it kind of gets a little emotional, and not that I'm going to sit there with a tissue and dot my eyes. But think of it, the parents. Think of the dad who was a former racer himself, and the crew, and the mom. Not only did they have 2 boys in the front row, their 3rd son also made the show too. So it was a good night for all, and we'll have those results when we come back after the break. In fact, we're going to take a break now. When we come back, we'll talk about some of the NASCAR Wheeling Modified Tour stuff behind the scenes and the results from the Riverhead race this past Saturday when we come back.
What's up, guys? We're Scano Fair, and we're here with Inravio. If they catch you at a show with one of these bracelets, you will win $100.
That's a lot of money.
So get a bracelet.
Do whatever it takes to get that. Hit them up online.
Village Music Shop of Mastic. 1-800-HEY-DUDE. Your full-service store with personalized attention, school band instrument rentals and sales, music instruction on all instruments for all styles and age groups, for guitars, drums, amplifiers, PA systems, and accessories. It's Village Music Shop, 1495 Montauk Highway in Mastic. Call 1-800-HEY-DUDE or go to villagemusicshop.com. Bethel Motor Speedway, racing at its finest. Are you ready for the excitement of racing at the legendary quarter-mile asphalt oval track of Bethel Motor Speedway with speeds approaching 100 miles per hour? Yeah, we thought so. With stock car racing every Saturday night now through October 1st and grandstand admission at only $8, there's nothing holding you back. Get to the Speedway and enjoy racing from the best divisions on asphalt. 4 cylinders, street stocks, pro stocks, bandoleros, dirt 358 and sportsman cars, legends, and modifieds. And it's fun for the whole family, with kids 5 and under admitted free. Visit BethelMotorspeedway.com for schedules, racing news, and lots more. Bethel Motor Speedway, 361 Horseshoe Lake Road in Swan Lake, New York, and at BethelMotorspeedway.com.
Welcome back. Well, the NASCAR Wheeling Modified Tour went into Riverhead Raceway here on Long Island this past weekend. And they're going to start calling this place the house that Justin Bonsignore built. He has some tour wins there. He finished second to Timmy Solomino in the June race. But this past Saturday night, he was the winner. Coming in first, Justin Bonsignore, followed by Timmy Solomino. Sean Solomino was third from the pole. Tom Rogers Jr., a solid fourth. Chase Dowling fifth. Jimmy Blewett was sixth. Craig Lutz seventh. Max Zackham was eighth. Frank Vigliarola Jr. was ninth, and Eric Goodale was 10th. 7 out of the top 10, as I said earlier, were from Long Island and cut their teeth racing at the Riverhead Raceway. Justin Bonsignore, like I said, in the June race, finished second to Timmy Solomino. And, you know, Timmy had something to prove. He was so upset what went on in Bethel with that big penalty where they held him, miscommunication with an official and all that kind of good stuff. But, you know, Timmy came back strong, finishing a solid second. The team, the Flamingo Motorsports team and its owner, Eric Sanderson, were considering not attending the Riverhead race. But they did show up, which is a good thing, and they had a good solid run. And also, Tom Rogers Jr. Tom Rogers Jr. Was originally slated to start third in the event, and he got a paired tire. Supposedly, I wasn't in the garage area, but supposedly when the car was sitting in impound, the tire was flat. How do you start a race on a flat tire and 3 good ones and 1 flat? You cannot do that. So his crew went to the powers to be and says, hey, this is a bad tire, and it's flat. We want to change it. And they said, if you change the tire, you got to start in the rear. Now, here's a guy, he qualifies third, and through no fault of his own, through possibly a faulty tire or picked up something in driving through the pit area, the tire's flat. He's got to go to the back. And I'll tell you what, you know, I was at the event and I watched him come through the pack, come through the field. None of that bump, grind, push out of the way nonsense. He raced his way to the front. And I'm thinking if there was another caution, Tom Rogers would have been battling for the lead with Justin and Timmy. Tom Rogers, I'll tell you, he's won in everything he's ever driven. He's got multiple championships. Hopefully, if one day he could run the tour full time. I know some situations have precluded him from racing full time this year, but Tom Rogers he's a talent behind the race. I've been watching race cars for a long time. I've never seen a driver drive the way he drives. And it's funny, there was a guy sitting next to me, he goes, oh, he's mad. They made him start in the back, he's mad, he's gonna be there at the end, he's gonna drive the wheels off the car. And my only thought or concern was there was not gonna be any rubber left on his tires. But it's a no tire race unless it's flat or you have a bent rim, and everybody else was in the same boat. So my hat's off to Tom Rogers Jr. for the show that he put on for the fans this past Saturday night. With Justin Bonsignore's win, Doug Colby has a 13-point lead over Bonsignore with 5 races to go. So this is going to be an interesting 5 races. Bonsignore won his 10th race this past Saturday night in 100 starts. 10% of the races he's won. Again, finishing second to Solomino in the June race. Again, Justin started in go-karts years ago when he was 5 years old, worked his way up through the go-kart ranks, started at Riverhead in the Charger division, and then which was basically a street stock type of car, just a little bit less than a late model, and then modified, and then the tour mod. So I wish Justin very well. Justin has been a guest on our show in the past, and he was also a guest on a previous show when he was just 9 or 10 years old. When he was here, I showed him that picture, and he couldn't believe it. But anyway, the tour. Wow. Well, they have transponders. Everybody knows how a transponder works. You go over the loop. At Riverhead, there's one loop. It's just at or near the start-finish line. And at least that's where it was last year. It could have been moved, but the way the loop goes, that's the only loop they have. That's where they scored from. And I couldn't understand. Now, I've been doing this racing for a long, long time. And I could not understand you'd go green, Somebody would spin, they'd sit there before the cars did another lap. The yellow would come out. I mean, all laps count, greens and yellows. And it took them 12 laps to get that field in order. Why? There was no cleanup. Nobody pitted. You go to the last completed lap on the loop in the computer, you look, and you make it happen. 12 laps, 2 times. Now, I'm not going to say what my thought process is on that as to what would take 12 caution laps to put a field in order for a simple spin. I don't understand that. You know, I do understand that when a caution comes out, it takes a lap for the pace car to pick them up. It takes a lap to decide who's going to pit, if there's a cleanup necessary. It takes a lap to make sure they're in order, a lap for one to go at the line and go racing. There should never be on a simple spin more than 5 laps on a caution. This race was a 200-lap race. 86 laps were run under yellow with an average speed of about 40 miles an hour. Now, the only thing that I could suggest on tracks that are a quarter mile in distance is don't count the caution flag laps. I think it'll make for a bigger race or a better race. But to sit there was no cleanup. The track crew wasn't out looking for debris. It was a simple spin, one time coming off of 2, one time coming off of 4, and it took 12 laps. 12 laps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There was 86 caution laps in all. There was 10 cautions. So that's 8.6 seconds per lap. And that doesn't include the red that took them a good 20 minutes to separate cars. And I'm okay with that. Let's separate the cars that are mangled in the backstretch without doing any further damage, because I've seen at many, many racetracks, the track crew and the tow truck guys, they go and sometimes they do a little bit more damage on these things trying to get them apart. But I got to say that the tow truck guys or the record guys at the Riverhead Raceway are top notch. They know what they're doing. And, you know, you're red, the cars are parked, let's do it. Let's make it happen. But I just don't understand the length of these caution flag laps for simple spins. And, you know, when you're talking almost half the race was run under caution. That's not a race to me. That's not a race to me. And something needs to be done to speed up the time. Yeah, if somebody blows a motor, you got oil on the track, hey, do what you got to do to clean the track up. You know, guy blows a transmission, you got transmission or rear end grease on the track, do what you got to do. Well, there's a major wreck, go red, like they did in this incident on the backstretch. There was some torn up equipment back there. I know John Fortin, a local Long Islander, was involved with it. His car looked demolished. He got out of it, brushed himself off, and spent the day with his family having a good time. You know, the safety of these cars is paramount. It's when you look at the safety in not only modified cars, but late models, street stocks, Sprint Cup, Xfinity, Camping truck, the safety is there, without a doubt. Now, if we can only get the technology end, open the tower to get their act together, to speed up getting these races back on, because fans don't want to see cars putting around the racetrack at 20 miles an hour, clicking off laps. Yeah, the leader does. Oh, the leader's sitting there. Wow, this is great. I'm hanging out. And especially if somebody's doing lap money, and sure, I'll take 12 laps of first place lap money if I was sitting in the front row. Hey, why not? But it's not good for the fans. And this is one of the things that NASCAR needs to take a look at, not only in the modified series, the regular series and the Southern series, the K&N series on the shorter tracks. They got to take a look at these things, because it's not good for the fans. Fans are like booing. They don't want to see that. They don't want to see that. And not that anybody owes me an explanation, but I'd be curious to see why did it take 12 laps on 2 different occasions for a simple spin where there was no cleanup and nobody pitted. I don't understand that. I've been up in the tower in my day, and back in my day, I sound like an old guy. We were still manually scoring, and with a manual scoring, we didn't take that long. We didn't take that long. And maybe we had one of the best scorers in the business with Lisa Bryce at the time, and each car had its own scorer. We had people in the tower that were line scoring as well. But we never took 12 laps on a simple spin. And with technology today, with the computers and the loops and the transponders, that should not have taken that long. That should not have. And it just burns me up to see that. It just does. Anyway, so 29 cars took the field, took the green. It was 30 scheduled. Again, going back to what I said in the past, that race had 60 guys would show, 65, in the high 50s, year after year, for a multitude of reasons. They showed up there. I know one of the reasons was the way the payoff was worked out, and hey, the guys were coming. And the June race, you have a little bit more of it. And you come to the end where there's only 4 or 5 races left, which now there's 5 races left. You know, guys go to the bull rings and they're like, look, I'm not even in the top 20. Do I want a chance of wrecking my car? And some of them don't go. And they know at Riverhead, at least, the local guys are so competitive that they're going to take some spots away. And half the field was from Long Island when you started. But there's one person in this field, and I'm going to say this. Melissa Fifield, she was out on lap 4. Official reason out was electrical. Now, a little group of folks I was sitting with, guys, were sitting there talking. We had a pool. What lap was she going to go out on? I said on lap 5. Now, lap 5 wasn't completed. She went out on lap 4 officially. But she's so far off the pace, not only at Riverhead, but at Stafford, at Thompson, Monadnock. She is so far off the pace. In the days of the full field, she would have been not racing. But they're not getting full field. So here's a person that's getting to start these races who is not competitive enough. And I think NASCAR needs to take a look at that. Hey, you know what? This isn't for you. But I guess that's like an internal customer to NASCAR. So they don't want to lose a customer because it costs a lot of money that NASCAR gets for showing up. There's inspection fees, this fee, that fee, the other fee, entry fees, pit fees. And I guess they don't want to lose that money. But I call that addition by subtraction because there's people that might not be racing because of a non-competitive person like Melissa. And I know she tries hard, but she should have won short track racing in the weekly series first. And this is one of those things where you wonder why she could race, but other people can't. And she's just that slow. They have a blunderbuss division at Riverhead. And for those who don't know what it's like a heavy stock. It's a street stock. You got to weigh 4,200 pounds. And those cars with a 122-inch, 124-inch wheelbase get around that track faster than she does, which basically stock motors. I don't get it. I just don't get it. And like I said, I was going to say some things, and I don't know. Some people might disagree with me, but she does not belong on the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. The NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour was designed for the elite of modified racing. Not just anybody that has a bunch of dollars and raced a couple of races somewhere else in an open wheel car. It's the elite. It always was the elite. The guys who went modified racing on the tour, some ended up racing in the old Busch Series, which became the Nationwide, which became the Xfinity. Some did that. Some went and got involved with the Cup Series. Some went truck racing. That was the elite. That's where they pulled from. You don't see that anymore in the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. You don't see that pulling. They're not coming out because the tour was designed basically. It was for the guys up here in the Northeast. It was a Northeast series. And they raced 25, 30 races a year. Now they're down to 15. There's something wrong with that picture as well. And yeah, money has become an issue, and the cost of putting these cars out on the racetrack has become an issue. But you get some decent payoffs, because the payoffs going back to 2003, 4 were higher than they are today. Now, there's something wrong with that picture. And I can remember when Riverhead was promoting its tour race, it was the highest paying race per mile. Per mile. Now, what does that mean? Well, other racetracks are half mile, a mile, whatever. But Riverhead was paying, back then, $6,000 to win. I don't know what the back end paid, but it was $6,000 to win. It was a $60,000 purse. Now the purse is a little bit better than the weekly modifieds that race there, just a little bit. That has nothing to do with the racetrack. That has to do with whomever sets the purse structure. Just something to think about. And again, I don't want to seem like I'm beating up on NASCAR, but it's constructive criticism. You don't have the cars anymore. I think the powers that be should go behind closed doors, shut them, and discuss, and openly and objectively say, what's wrong with our series? Why are we losing racetracks? Why are we losing teams to other series that pay less money? Travel a little bit less. It's all one-day shows, things that they need to look at. You don't need to go to a racetrack to race 100 laps and be there for 4 days or 3 days. Show up in the morning, do your thing, just like a Riverhead, a one-day show. Get there in the morning, practice, qualify, race, get out of Dodge. We'll have the results from Bethel when we come back.
Hi, my name is Aaron from Real Big Fish,
And I'm Ed from Real Big Fish.
and you're watching the Inravio TV network.
Inravio.com wants you. Inravio provides the best in TV, film, post-production, and so much more. And we're growing. Right now, we're looking for a team of pros that can join us. So what are you waiting for? We need show hosts, production crew, marketing gurus, sales experts, audio engineers, lighting, visual effects, and camera crews. We want you. Go to Inravio.com/join the team. Bethel Motor Speedway, racing at its finest. Are you ready for the excitement of racing at the legendary quarter-mile asphalt oval track of Bethel Motor Speedway with speeds approaching 100 miles per hour? Yeah, we thought so. With stock car racing every Saturday night now through October 1st and grandstand admission at only $8, there's nothing holding you back. Get to the Speedway and enjoy racing from the best divisions on asphalt. 4 cylinders, street stocks, pro stocks, bandoleros, dirt 358 and sportsman cars, legends, and modifieds. And it's fun for the whole family, with kids 5 and under admitted free. Visit BethelMotorspeedway.com for schedules, racing news, and lots more. Bethel Motor Speedway, 361 Horseshoe Lake Road in Swan Lake, New York, and at BethelMotorspeedway.com.
Hey, I'm Raul Panther.
And I'm Commander B. Hawkins.
And I'm Rick Weller. We're some of the proto men. If we see you without this bracelet, you get punched in the But if you have this bracelet from Inravio.com, you can win $100.
Put one of these on, or else.
For over 60 years, Hanson Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hanson Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit HansonCarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hanson Carpet has got you covered.
Welcome back. And to answer the 22 figure 8 question, didn't Wade Cole have a former figure 8 driver that NASCAR didn't want? The answer is yes. It's a long story, it's all politics, but I will add this to this. I was on my way to Pocono. I was going to Pocono for the Cup race on that weekend, and all set to go and just sign in the garage area. Day before the event, I got a call from NASCAR saying, we pulled your credentials with no explanation. So and I could tell briefly real quick, it's all politics. And NASCAR wants people that are perfect wooden little soldiers and don't speak their mind and have no brain and just work as directed. And I'm not that way. I cannot be that way. I will not be that way. I will not manipulate things. I will not alter tech stuff. I will not break somebody's chops because somebody in the higher-ups doesn't like that driver. I will not go through a race car with the instructions, find something. Those things happen. So I wouldn't do those things. So it was time to go. It was time to move on. And I became the bad boy. So I did just about everything that I was asked to do of NASCAR other than to go buy an SK car and race at Stafford, which I was not going to do. And that's it. That's the story. It's one of those things. But anyway, Bethel Motor Speedway, as you saw, we had a couple of commercials for Bethel. And if you want your racetrack to be a part of our marketing program, contact us. Reach us at Inravio.com, by email, by message, Facebook us, call me, whatever. And if you want your racetrack to do that, have your racetrack, contact us, and we will do the same for you. Bethel Motor Speedway, a good marketing partner with us. And I'll tell you what, their track sponsors, their teams, their car owners, their drivers love the fact that they're getting coverage. So, and that's what it's all about. It's all about getting coverage. Think about you're a racer and you have a good run. You know, we're not going to win any Emmys here, but you know what? You can tell your family, hey, they're going to talk about me on TV, and your family watches, and it's all good. So anyway, but here we go with the results from Bethel Motor Speedway this past Saturday. Again, Bethel, one of my favorite places to go. All right, the modified results. Blair Colhane was the winner, followed by John Coate. Skip LaPointe was third. Steve Galgano fourth. Rob Rafferty fifth. Joe McCarthy sixth. Frank James seventh. And Robbie Konakowski finished eighth. The next group was the 358 Sportsman mods. And Paul Martin was first, followed by Rich Coons. Mike Dutka was third. Kevin Crome fourth. Matt Curry was fifth. And Kyle Redner was in sixth. The legend results go like this. Richie Coy was the winner there with Teddy Hodgson second. Alex McCullum third. Gillian Kirkpatrick fourth. Drew Bottage fifth. Mickey Policastro sixth. Lars McElravy was seventh. Eugene Storm Drew was eighth. Stephen Hershey was ninth. And Jerry Mashia was rounding out the top 10 there. The Bandolero results had Saron Varais first, followed by Mike Roth. Eugene Storm Drew was third. Jeff Dara fourth. Teddy Cranmer fifth. Gage Stoll sixth. Joey Onk seventh. Isabella Machia eighth. Tyler Dockenhausen was ninth. In the pro stock results, we had Kenny Atkins winning there with Mac Crossan second. Jim Height third. Jimmy Sykes fourth. Brent Shattuck fifth. And Vinny Stanton Sr. sixth. The street stock results go like this. Gary Van Orden first. Amber Van Orden second, a father-daughter team, I believe. Walt Henry third. Kyle Welsh fourth. Joe Smith was fifth. Brian Chirico sixth. Jessica Ritchie seventh. Patty Falcana was eighth. Woodrow Wilson was ninth. And Phil Funcion was 10th. That's it from Bethel Motor Speedway. I want to thank Tracy Chirico providing us with that information. And again, for being a marketing partner here at the 5 off 5 on Racing Show at Inravio.com. And again, you want your track results listed, you want your teams mentioned, just let us know. Become a marketing partner with us and we'll make it happen. We'll build you up. We will build you up. And again, thank you to the people at Bethel and for the teams for putting on a good show there. All right, so what do we have here? Michigan for the Camping World Truck Series. We had Brett Moffitt was the winner there, followed by Timothy Peters. Daniel Hemrick was third. William Byron was fourth. Cameron Haley fifth. Ben Rhodes was sixth, followed by Matt Crampton seventh. Grant Enfinger was eighth. Johnny Sorter ninth. And Tyler Rhodes was 10th. John West Townley got the pole, finished in 12th. The Xfinity Series was at Road America. And then Michael Madot was the winner there, followed by Brendan Gaughan. Brendan Poole was third. Daniel Suarez fourth. Ryan Reed was fifth. Justin Allgaier sixth. Alex Talgigliani was seventh from the pole. Elliott Sadler eighth. Darrell Wallace Jr. ninth. J.J. Reilly rounding out the top 10. The Cup Series was at Michigan. They is along with the Xfinity Series. I'm sorry, with the Yeah, with the Xfinity season. We'll be at Darlington this upcoming weekend. But Kyle Larson came down with the win. His first win in the Sprint Cup Series, followed by Chase Elliott. We got a couple of kids there for 1 and 2. Brad Keselowski third, Ryan Blaney fourth, Kevin Harvick fifth, Jimmy Johnson was sixth, Carl Edwards seventh, Jamie McMurray eighth, Denny Hamlin ninth, and Joey Logano rounding out the top 10 who got the pole. Now, Kyle Larson's win at Michigan, his first, as I said, in the Sprint Cup Series, is victory. He's the first graduate of the NASCAR Drive for Diversity and NASCAR Next programs to win in the NASCAR's top level. Larson, who's only 24, from Elk Grove, California, is a Japanese-American heritage. Larson has victories in the Xfinity and the Camping World Truck Series. So he went through that program where they brought in females and minorities and non-Americans and developed these drivers and these teams. And Kyle Larson is one of the first. He's won in every series, the top 3 series. I remember the first time I watched him race live, it was at Daytona in a late model race when they had the UNOH battle at the beach. And a lot of people didn't like his aggressive style. And I watched him kind of push his way through the field, and if the hole opened an inch, he jumped into it. And I remember talking to him afterwards, and I said, you know, the show you put on today, it's just going to be a matter of time before you're in one of the top series. And there he was. And that was only like 3 or 4 years ago. So Kyle Larson, again, one of the young guns in the sport who's going to make it happen someday. And you look at some of the names, Chase Elliott, son of Bill Elliott, and Ryan Blaney. Again, another second-generation driver. You know, what's happening is it's a changing of the guard again in the Sprint Cup Series. It happens every 5, 6, 8 years where there's a changing of the guard. You can remember in the late 70s, early 80s, where the guys that we grew up with, at least I grew up with the Pettys and the Yarboroughs and those guys, the Allisons, you know, Bobby Allison, those guys are starting to fade away a little bit in this new group. I can remember, you know, when Kurt Busch came along, and he was a guy that, you know, he was just bouncing around wherever, and the driver, Roush had a driver that just wasn't performing in the car, just was not performing. It was a Winston West champion, and he came into the Sprint Cup level, and he just wasn't making it happen. And they put Kurt Busch in the car. And that driver, that Kurt Busch replaced Chad Little, who is now the Camping World Truck Series series director. And, you know, the rest is history. Kurt Busch, he's you know, done everything there is to do in the Sprint Cup. And like 22 Figure 8 says, there's nothing like your first win. And I did. I remember that. Wow. I appreciate you remembering that. That was one of the things that I did. I kept track of that stuff when I was the head guy here on Riverhead. And it wasn't hard to do because I'd been around the police since, the 70s. And when a guy or gal got their first win ever, I made it a point to go down and shake their hand and congratulate them. When Scott Seppi in the blunderbuss, the guy told all that. Now, for those of you who are not from Long Island, where he lived in the city, in Queens, to drive out the river, it had to be without traffic a good hour, hour and a half. Easy. Drove some summer traffic to the Hamptons, you're looking at 2 hours. Guy came with his truck, his trailer, a jack, and a female companion. We'll leave it at that. And when he won his first race, I'll never forget, Neil the Wheel Fiola Sr. was bang on his bumper, racing him clean, racing him hard, and Scott Seppi wins this region. I'm waiting for the people to come run out for victory lane for the guy. Nobody came out. I went out with him. I gave him a hug like I was his crew chief. I shook his hand, and I posed in victory lane with Scott Seppi. And he remembered that. I just saw him at the Bethel Motor Speedway at Legend Stock, and he remembered that. And he said, I still have that picture of you and me in victory lane. And those are the memories. And I have a lot of memories from Riverhead Raceway over the years. You know, some as an official, some as a driver, some as a kid going there watching with my grandfather. And most of them are good memories. And it's things like that when I see, you know, 22 Figure 8, you know, remember that. That makes me feel good. It puts a smile on my face. So 22 Figure 8, thank you. And, you know, you had some more wins after that. In fact, I think not too long before that, it was your win. It was your win. You were pumping your fist coming around the corner, and some laugh guy, if I'm not mistaken, caught you in the X, and it wasn't your win. But you know what? What did they say? Somebody once told me you have to lose one before you can win one. So I don't know what it's like to win one. I never won one as a driver, not even a heat race. I had some seconds. I tore up some equipment trying to win a heat race, and I got this lecture from the powers to be how, you're in the show and you're trying to wreck your car for a heat race, picture. But I had victories as a car owner, as a crew chief, as a crew member, and you know what? It's just as fun. I've been doing this a long time, so anyway. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is still sidelined by doctor's orders. He missed Michigan, and this next coming weekend he will miss Darlington. Alex Bowman drove the 88 at Michigan, and Jeff Gordon will be back in the car at Darlington. Jeff Gordon, very successful at Darlington over the years, so it's interesting to see. And my question is going to be this. A lot of people who have this concussion thing going on and he's suffering, and I'm not a doctor, I believe, from post-concussion syndrome. And like Pat LaFontaine on the Islanders, basically he was told one more hit in the head and it could be over. And you have to say this. You have to be realistic here. Here's a guy, he's been in a lot of wrecks over the years. He's got a lot of concussions. And, when you start getting dizzy and you start having that pressure in the front of your head, you know that, something's wrong. And again, he thought it was a sinus infection. He thought it was just a headache, a migraine. It's that post-concussion thing. Again, I'm not a doctor, but you cannot be in a race car racing when you have this going on. And even the slightest bang into the wall, even though you got that helmet on, your brain is still crashing against your skull, whether it's a head-on crash, side, and then you got this rocking back and forth. Your brain, there's a little space between your brain and the cell, and your brain's in a sock, and it moves. And there's just so many shots to the head you could take. I want to stop short of saying maybe Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s time is over. Hopefully not. Hopefully he'll get better. Hopefully he'll heal. Hopefully the time off and some good doctors and some good brain therapy will fix that. His brain will heal, but I'm thinking not. I'm thinking I'll be very serious here. You got to sit back, and I'm saying this today, you got to sit back and you got to say, wow, I want to start a family. I want to enjoy the rest of my life. You don't want to end up like and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, Bobby Allison, who cannot remember his Daytona 500 win. He cannot remember his 1-2 finish with his son from that wreck in Pocono, and where he got all banged up and he almost went into the grandstands, along with other wrecks that he had over the years. Back when they were racing every single week, somewhere, sometimes 3 times a week, wrecking, fixing your car, not eating right, not sleeping right, driving to the next one. There was no planes. Nobody drove your car. You took it yourself back in those days. And when you talk to Bobby Allison, I've talked to Bobby Allison often, and I can remember being signing in at Daytona, and Bobby Allison was online in front of me, and we're having a conversation, and he didn't remember some things, and I can remember getting in my car, and my girls were like, "Who is that?" I said, "That's Bobby Allison." "Oh, who is that?" And I equated to them as Bobby Allison to me, when I was a kid growing up, was the equivalent to Ryan Newman to my girls, because they knew Ryan Newman. He was that he wasn't the guy that's going to show up in Vogue magazine or Gentleman's Quarterly. He's a tough guy, and and I drove into the infield thinking, wow, and he lost 2 of his boys to the sport, and like 22 Figure says, your brain is fragile. Your brain is fragile, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. He banged up his brain pretty bad. That one wreck on that road course where the car went on fire, and he swears to this day his dad got him out of the car, because he got out of the car, sat on the ground, and passed out. he still says it to this day. You know, your brain is weird. Your brain is weird, and it's not designed to get banged and beaten and all of that kind of good stuff. So, you know, my prayers go out to Dale Earnhardt Jr., and I hope that he could, let's forget this week-to-week stuff. Let's wash this season away, get somebody else in the 88. I don't mean somebody other than Jeff Gordon, but somebody other than Dale Earnhardt Jr. And let's get ready for next year. Let's heal. Let's the healing process start now. Get the stress off of him that's saying, I want to race, because that's all he knows. He's a race car driver. And, you know, we do this because that's what we do. And Dale Earnhardt Jr., he's been racing a long time. And you know what? Maybe it is time to step back and concentrate on being a car owner through Junior Motorsports. I don't know. And 22 years, I was trying to remember if that. Yes, Bobby and Judy Allison split up after his injury. You know, Judy was his wife and stood by his side. They did get back together, and after the injury to Adam Petty, they realized the injury to death to Adam Petty, and they realized that life is too short. They lost their boys to racing. All they had was each other. Let's be together, and I was trying to remember that, and it just wasn't coming. And you know, like you said, Dale Jr. has nothing to prove. He has nothing to prove. And everybody thought that, you know, NASCAR was giving him advantages after his dad passed, and when he won that race in July, the old Firecracker 400. And you know, that was a storybook thing. You know, I don't think NASCAR had anything to do with giving him a bigger motor or more fuel or better tires. What I think happened there is a little divine intervention. You know, like to get the people out of the mindset Dale's gone, to get him into the mindset Dale Jr. is here. So we're going to take a quick break, and we come back. We'll start wrapping up this show when we come.
Bethel Motor Speedway, racing at its finest. Are you ready for the excitement of racing at the legendary quarter-mile asphalt oval track of Bethel Motor Speedway with speeds approaching 100 miles per hour? Yeah, we thought so. With stock car racing every Saturday night now through October 1st and grandstand admission at only $8, there's nothing holding you back. Get to the Speedway and enjoy racing from the best divisions on asphalt. 4 cylinders, street stocks, pro stocks, bandoleros, dirt 358 and sportsman cars, legends, and modifieds. And it's fun for the whole family, with kids 5 and under admitted free. Visit BethelMotorspeedway.com for schedules, racing news, and lots more. Bethel Motor Speedway, 361 Horseshoe Lake Road in Swan Lake, New York, and at BethelMotorspeedway.com.
Hi there, this is Buddy from Less Than Jake, and you are listening to Inravio TV. You're probably watching it too.
Hey, this is Chris Less Jake, and if Inravio.com spots you at an event wearing this bracelet, they will give you $100.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, Inravio can get your message out there. And we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is Inravio.com.
Hey, welcome back. Hey, before I close off tonight, I just want a big shout out to one of my producers, Levy. He's in there cracking up because he knows what I'm going to say. He's going to be leaving us, and I just got used to him. I don't know, I'm eating up producers here, but anyway, he's moving on to bigger and better things. That's more into his career, and not that he didn't use this as a stepping stone, because he's doing something totally a little bit different, but I introduced him to car racing. I think driving up to Bethel, I said to him, listen, either you're going to love it or you're going to hate it. And he walked out there with a big smile on his face, and he couldn't wait. He came back with us a second time, and he did the job of 2 people. And he had a good time running around and setting up cameras and getting shots and all of that good stuff. And I want to wish him well. And I'm not good with change. I don't like when I walk in here and there's a different face sitting in the control room. And I was like, I remember saying to the powers to be, I says, who is this guy? And I'm growing to like him. So I wish him well, and we had a lot of good fun. Like I said, I introduced him to racing. I'm going to bet that in his future there'll be some racetrack visits along the way, because he had a good time with us. And it's hard not to have a good time with us when we go racing, because we have fun and we tell stories and we laugh all the way up. And even when the police kind of slow us down and want to have a little chat with us and over certain things, they want to check the van because they think we're drug dealers or smugglers or something. But we had some good fun, and I'll share a quick story with one of our Bethel trips. We're gonna go eat. So the executive producer says, "Let's go eat." I got lunch, so we go to the concession stand, and I order a nice chicken finger platter and fries and a drink, and Levy orders like a burger and some fries and stuff. It's all good. And our executive producer sees there's a sign. I'll never forget, there's a sign, and I believe he's in the chat room, and there's a sign, and they showed a big bowl of beans and 2 hot dogs on a bun. Now the hot dogs had little smiley faces, little eyes, little smile, and little arms, little feet sticking out. And he goes, "Oh, I'll have that." So all right, so they're getting our stuff, and I put it on the tray, and out comes this little bowl. When I say a little bowl, it was like you take a pint of Haagen-Dazs, was half of that. And she puts it on the counter, and she's looking. She goes, "Did I forget something?" I'm thinking in my head, she forgot the hot dogs. She goes, "No, we got it all." So we go back and we sit down to eat, and I'm enjoying my chicken fingers, and Levy's enjoying his burger, and it was a little bowl of beans with some hot dogs cut up in it, and we laughed about that. And all the way home, every time we passed someplace, "Do you think they have hot dogs there?" And we had a good time with that, right? Didn't we, Levy? We had a good time with that. So it's all fun, and I'll tell you, I leave the show, and I'm going to have some good memories, and Levy's going to be part of that, and I'm sure he's going to have some good memories with us too. And I'm sure he had to get used to me too, and because I did some stuff. If you only saw me before we go live, some of the stuff that I do, and they go, "Oh, give me a countdown for sound," and I make believe I'm a quarterback, and I make blue 52, and I say stupid stuff, I sing songs, and it sounds good. But I want to wish you, and I want to thank you for all you've done for us. And you always got a home here. You know that. But I've been through a few people, and don't get me wrong, they're all good. They're all good. They all do the right thing. But just when you get used to a guy, they move on. So, but it's a good move on for Levy. It's good. So, good luck. Congratulations. Anyway, I probably just went over my time. Probably got like 2. Oh, I got the let's go. We're on overtime. So anyway, again, I want to thank everybody for being a part of the show tonight. It is good chat. 22 figure 8. You're always a good guy to stir up the memories. And Bethel fan, thank you for always being a part of our show as well. And so I want to thank everybody. And wherever your endeavors are going to bring you this weekend, it's Labor Day weekend. There will not be a show on Labor Day. Enjoy your families. Have a good time. Be well. Give somebody a hug. Tell them you love them. God bless you all. And thank you all for being a part of this show. Good night.